Welcome to the podcast summary of Paavo Nurmi. Today's story is Paavo Nurmi, the Finnish runner who didn't just win races. He changed how people thought about running itself. He brought stopwatches, pacing, and year-round training into a sport that had often been treated as pure grit, then built a legend that mixed working-class hardship, Olympic brilliance, controversy, and this almost eerie self-control. And what makes him especially interesting is that the myth of the silent machine only tells part of it. He was also a sharp observer of discipline, comfort, money, and what excellence actually costs. Nurmi's range was almost absurd. He set 22 official world records from 2,500 meters all the way to 20 kilometers, and in 1923, he simultaneously held the mile, 5,000-meter, and 10,000-meter world records. Nobody before or since has matched that combination. He stayed unbeaten in cross-country in the 10,000 meters for 14 years and won 121 straight races at distances from 800 meters upward. That kind of dominance matters on its own, but it also showed that distance running didn't have to be this vague test of toughness. Nurmi helped turn it into something measurable, technical, and almost engineered. One of the big shifts he brought in was the idea that racing could be studied instead of just felt out. He used a stopwatch during competition and worked to distribute his effort at an even, punishing pace, basically betting that other runners couldn't hold steady speed all the way to the finish. After he lost the 5,000 meters to Joseph Guillemot at the 1920 Olympics, he seems to have taken that personally in the most productive way possible. He began treating races like experiments and analyzing tactics more closely. His training was year-round and wide-ranging. Cross-country running, winter skiing, walking, sprints, calisthenics, interval work. A lot of what now feels normal for elite endurance athletes was still being assembled, and Nurmi was one of the people assembling it. If you want the headline version of Paavo Nurmi, it's probably the 1924 Paris Olympics. He won the 1,500 meters and the 5,000 meters less than 2 hours apart, setting Olympic records in both. Even now, that sounds slightly rude. He ended those games with 5 gold medals in 5 events. And this happened during a brutal 45 degrees Celsius heat wave. In the cross-country race, most of the field dropped out. Only 15 of 38 starters finished, and several runners were carried away on stretchers. Nurmi still came away frustrated because Finnish officials wouldn't enter him in the 10,000 meters, which he considered his most important event. They wanted to spread opportunities among Finland's stars, and he clearly did not find that comforting. The life behind all this started hard. After his father died, Nurmi left school at 12 to help support the family. He worked in a bakery and a workshop, and later said that pushing heavy carts up Turku's steep streets strengthened his legs and back. His success in running brought practical changes at home, including electric lighting and running water, which is a pretty vivid reminder that athletic glory can begin in very unglamorous circumstances. Later on, he became a successful clothing merchant, contractor, and stock investor, and eventually one of the richest people in Finland. So the image of Nurmi as just a lonely mechanical athlete is incomplete. He was also a person who climbed from severe hardship into serious business wealth. Part of Nurmi's power came from how little of himself he seemed to give away. He was reserved and taciturn enough to pick up names like the Phantom Finn, the Great Silent One, and the Running Machine. People described him as mechanical on the track, even Buddha-like. He disliked publicity and later said worldly fame and reputation were worth less than a rotten lingonberry, which is one of those lines that sounds both very Finnish and very final. And still, his presence could electrify people. The clearest example might be 1952, when he lit the Olympic flame in Helsinki and became less a celebrity than a national symbol in motion. The most bitter turn in his career came before the 1932 Olympics. The IAAF questioned whether he was still an amateur, reportedly based on claims that he'd received $250 to $500 per race in Germany. Finland's federation initially cleared him, but the IAAF Council rejected his Olympic entries by a 13-12 vote and later made the suspension permanent, even though he was never formally declared a professional. It turned into a major international controversy, strained Finland-Sweden athletic relations, and came with accusations of political maneuvering. For Nurmi, the immediate loss was personal. He was prevented from chasing the marathon gold medal he'd hoped would echo the career ending of his idol, Hannes Kolemainen. Nurmi's legacy goes well beyond a stack of medals and records. Emil Zatopek modeled his training on what he could learn about Nurmi, and much later Hichemel Garauch openly pursued that rare double of winning the 1,500 and 5,000 meters at the same games. He helped make running into a major spectator sport, and his name ended up everywhere: statues, stadiums, races, a Finnish banknote, a Finnair aircraft, even an asteroid called 1740 Paavo Nurmi. During the Winter War, he also returned to the United States with Taistomäki to raise funds and support for Finland, which shows how athletic fame can become a form of national service when history gets serious. Late in life, Nurmi never really softened his view of what running demanded. In 1962, he warned that rising living standards and easy transportation would weaken distance running because young people would be less willing to endure physical effort. It's an old complaint, but honestly, it still sounds familiar. He said athletes had to sacrifice everything to accomplish something, and he criticized Finnish sports officials as publicity seekers and tourists instead of servants of athletic excellence. Even in old age, he framed running in almost stark philosophical terms. Mental strength, he said, was decisive, while muscles were merely pieces of rubber. Paavo Nurmi endures because he was more than a champion and more than a myth. He made running look precise, severe, and strangely modern, long before modern sport fully caught up. And for somebody who thought fame was worth less than a rotten lingonberry, he left an awfully durable footprint. This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.